Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, women, men and women of all ages, how we doing? What's going on? I'm your host with the most, Minister Miko, Minnie Mouse. How we doing? This is an episode of a wind down podcast, a really chill podcast. We don't even have an intro to this podcast. I don't know what this podcast is going to be called. I don't know if this is going to be my Squeak of the Devil podcast, the one that I guess it can't be, because in that podcast I'm going to have a bunch of sound effects and high production stuff. I might just call this the Squeak Easy or the Mousecast or something like that. We're not sure here. That's the one thing that's my company guarantee, is that I'm not sure. Basically all this podcast is going to be is just, I'm trying to do this thing where I get better at podcasting, I guess. I guess this is just podcast practice. A type of journaling too, where I can go through my day and talk about stuff that I want to in the most unhinged way humanly possible. That nobody, I want to tell stories on here that people in my real life do not care about. I could not tell them in a way to make them give a shit about it. I just want to tell you guys just a story between me and you, and nobody's here to stop me. I'm in the dark. I'm in my basement. My nuts hurt. Everything is going according to plan. I'm on opiates. One thing, I have a whole story to tell you guys about my nuts hurt. And that's not a joke. It was a joke, but, or at least it was funny to me, but it's real. It's very real. It's real. It's so real. It is real that we're bombing kids. That's how fucking real this is. Alright, 2 minutes and 28 seconds before we make a bomb Gaza joke. That should dodge the algorithm. They won't know I said that. I'll censor it. Maybe I won't. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I wanted to talk about something that I haven't seen it in the wild recently, but I remember it used to be, every other video you saw, it would be just this over and over. Women who pick fights with men. Right? What you doing? What you doing? What is it in your head that makes you think that is gonna go well? And you know, I've thought about this from a woman's perspective. Whoa! Hey! Slow it down. Slow it down right there. Right there. We don't need to go any further. This is Mouse from the future, right? I recorded the podcast that you were listening to on March 26th. It is now March 30th. This is Mouse from the future, and we're gonna skip a little bit. I'm just here to tell you guys that we're skipping a little bit forward in this podcast, because the section of the podcast that you were about to listen to is a 10-minute section on me talking about how men could beat the shit out of women. So we're gonna skip that. We're gonna skip it. I was still coming. I was barely awake. I don't remember anything. The sun was in my eyes. I had a couple drinks. I'm not responsible for any of my actions. That part of the podcast did not poll well with our more sensitive audience members. So we're gonna come back. We're gonna re-strategize, and we're gonna engage in less scaring the hose behavior moving forward. And now we're gonna jump straight into me talking about my ball sack. Ha ha! My ball sack. Woo! My ball sack. Nowhere to go but up. We started with trash and women. Now we can go anywhere else. We need to talk about now why my nuts hurt so bad. I had yesterday a testicular torsion. For those of you that don't know what that is when your left or right nut does a little flip, gets turned around, and then the blood supply gets cut off to it, and then you experience 4 to 5 hours of the worst pain humanly imaginable. Way worse than pregnancy. Way worse than giving birth. I don't even want to... It's going to take me a minute to get out of trash and women mode. But So... Normally, something like this happens when you're being rough with your balls, right? Something, you're like running, maybe you're playing a sport, maybe you're like doing a backflip, maybe you're having vigorous, passionate sex. That's the cool shit that normal people have to do to have a testicular torsion. Well, I was in the shower and bent down to wash my shins and it twisted. That's the unathletic shit that I was doing that caused me to have surgery on my ball sack. They fucking... So, keep in mind, I was in the shower, I went to wash my legs, and I felt my left nut go pink. Like I don't know how to explain that type of pain, but that pain shot from my ball sack like to my left ear. It just went pink and then it was over. And I was like, okay, that's fucking weird. I need to keep an eye on that. I knew what thankfully I knew what a testicular torsion was before I had it. I'm what one would call a ball sack connoisseur. I knew what a testicular torsion was and I knew what to look out for. So when I got out of the shower after the pink, the pain was at like a 2. It was not that big of a deal. And I was like, okay, maybe I just like sat on them weird earlier in the day and now they're a little sore. I get to the living room still had the towel on. I was still drying off. That pain went from a 2 to a 13 in 5 to 10 seconds. It was the craziest shit I've ever experienced in my life. I went from, because I didn't want to freak my wife out. So I was like, I started out with just texting her when it was going from a 5 to a 13. I was like, hey, I might have to go to a hospital. I got halfway through that text before I was just calling her, waking her and my kid up and saying, get in the car. We're going to the fucking hospital. I've got a towel wrapped around my dick and a pair of Crocs on walking out the door because I was like, we need to get there. We need to get there now. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to tolerate the pain long enough to get to the hospital. But I was like, fuck that. I'm not calling a ambulance. We're going to man mode this. But my wife at that point, like I said, she reminded me that I did need clothes to go to the hospital. Because like I said, I was wearing a towel around my waist and in Crocs. That was fucking it. I get to the hospital and I started to kind of freak out because apparently with a testicular torsion, you have about 4 to 6 hours to get to a hospital, get it figured out, or you're going to lose your left or right nut, whichever one's twisted. I don't know why. I don't know where I read this, but at the time I thought it was an hour. And that's all you had before you lost your nut. We spent 20 minutes riding in the car, getting from the house to the ER. And then we spent another 20 minutes in the waiting room. And I was like, okay, another 20 minutes and I lose my fucking nut. I'm still in the waiting room. How are they going to get me in a gown, drugged up, and nutsack open in 20 minutes? That's going to be incredible. But no, much to my dismay, there's a 4 to 6 hour window. So while I was about to throw up and pass out from the worst pain I've ever felt, nobody else gave a shit at all, dude. Not one single motherfucker gave a shit at all there. And I mean, you want your ER to be like that. You can't be having people in the ER like freaking out just as much as you are. But I was in the waiting room. Here's for 4 hours from the waiting room to the ultrasound to the doctor talk before you go into surgery to the surgery. For those whole 4 hours, I was sitting here going, this is how I was breathing. This is how I sounded. That's what I sounded like for literally 4 hours. I've heard people say that, like, yeah, I almost passed out from the pain of, like, I don't know what they did, break their wrist or something, some pussy shit like that. I've always heard that, but, me being a man, I can't have empathy with somebody on a thing unless I experience it firsthand. So I was always like, yeah, you passed out, you fucking pussy, but from the pain. I was sitting in the, I was waiting to go to the ultrasound, and it started at my fingertips, and from my fingertips all the way to my sternum and my chest started vibrating and tingling and then going numb. And then I would start to get really fucking lightheaded to where I would have to like lay my head down on something. But when I did, I would get nauseous. So I was in this constant seesaw of trying to lay down and not pass out, and then trying to stand back up or sit back up and not throw up. I think the lowest point of it was when this nurse came out and she was like, "Can you take a piss sample?" And I'm in so much pain that I just genuinely don't think I can. And I was right. I got the little piss can that they gave me, and I went to the bathroom, and I stood there and I was like, okay, now it's gotta put our minds to this. This is where we make it happen, boys. We're not gonna puss out. We're gonna pee in this cup, and we're gonna give it to that hot lady behind the fucking counter because she wants us to. We will not let her down. This is the time to perform. It didn't happen. Not only did it not happen, I almost went unconscious. I started out, I was just standing up holding the cup. Nothing was happening. I leaned my forehead on the automatic paper towel dispenser thing because I needed some support or I was going down to the floor, completely unconscious. I stayed like that for a while, still with my dick in my hand, still with my dick in a cup. Nothing happened. Now I'm starting to slide down the wall, just slowly but surely sliding down the wall, still with my dick in a cup, trying to take a piss. Nothing's happening. I ended up, this was the low point of the low point of a day I was having. I dropped to my knees in a nasty ass ER bathroom, and was trying to take a piss. This was the closest I've came to crying in my adult life for like a pain reason. Like I'll cry at a movie if somebody's like doing something cool. If I watch Matthew McConaughey fucking stick a spaceship into another spaceship with Hans Zimmer music playing in the background, you best believe I'm gonna cry. But I've never gotten even close to breaking down into tears because of like a pain or inconvenient, like a bad thing happening. And it almost happened. And honest to God, if I wasn't trying to not throw up so bad, I think the floodgates probably would have opened. So I managed to get I'm talking too little of piss in this cup, and I walk out. I look at the nurse and I literally hold it up. I was like, this is the best I got. And she was like, we'll see if we can make it work. Like, disappointed in me. I've got like you know how like every woman is hotter in scrubs. She's like a 6 or a 7 in normal people clothes, but an 8 or a 9 in scrubs. She was like disappointed in me. I was like, you bitch, this is the worst day of my life. You're gonna sit here making me feel bad because, well, my big man can't pee. Big boy can't handle his business in there, can't figure out how to pee. So she did that. That was the low point. I went to an ultrasound, and there was this overweight woman giving me the ultrasound, and I started laughing. This was the only laughter to be had because, like I said, I was in so much pain that I could not sit still the entire time. I was like moving. I was still doing the breathing thing. I was about to pass out. I was about to puke. The only laughter I got was my wife was with me, and there was an overweight woman rubbing my balls down with an ultrasound machine while my wife was in the cuck chair across the room watching her do it. That was the only time I laughed that entire day. I was trying to make a lot of jokes to the doctors and nurses. I was trying to make a lot of jokes to the doctors and nurses, and oh man, I must have been off my game. I thought I was doing good. Nobody laughed. Not a single joke went through. They would come in and ask me how I'm doing. I'm pale. I'm sweating. I'm about to pass out. I'm about to throw up. I've thrown up a couple times. They'd be like, "How you doing?" I'd be like, "Well, I feel like $1 million." Thought I'd get a laugh. Didn't get a laugh. I completely... Oh, yeah, during the ultrasound, I was, like I said, I couldn't sit still and everything. And, here's how bad it was. I hate throwing up, you know? I just can't stand it unless I'm drunk, and then sometimes it feels kind of good. Because I have a problem. But, I got up from the ultrasound, and I had been laying... That ultrasound took 20 to 30 fucking minutes of just nonstop the worst pain I've ever felt in my entire adult life. I was there for 30 minutes laying on my back staring straight up at the ceiling. And when I sat up, I looked at the lady, and I was like, if somebody was going to throw up in here, where would you pick? And she was like, let me get the doctor. And I looked down. It was now or never. I looked down. I was like, how about, instead of the doctor, how about right there? And I stepped on the biohazard shot container, where like all those needles that they've been sticking into people and out of people all fucking day. I opened that up and just start vomiting straight into it. And she's like, I'm going to go get somebody, but I'm going to goodbye. And now it's just me and my wife in an ultrasound tech's room while I'm throwing up in the dark. That situation is a pretty good measurement on how bad my nuts felt, because throwing up was the best time I had since I was there at the doctor. Turns out it's hard to really focus on pain or feel it when you're throwing up. So for the rest of the time I was there, if I felt nauseous even a little bit, I would start going like trying to get that shit out of me, because it would be a nice 15-second reprieve from the blistering, awe-inspiring, sharp, dull at the same time pain that I felt radiating out of my left nut and all the way out into my body. I would just start making myself throw up like I was trying to fit in my prom dress for senior year prom. It got to the point, normally I'm really weird around surgeries. Anesthesia scares me. It's like a lack of control thing. Same with flying. It's not like I think flying is more dangerous or anesthesia is more dangerous. It's just that I have nothing. If I die in either one of those scenarios, I have nothing to do with it, so it scares the shit out of me, right? I'm normally weird about going under for anesthesia. Towards the end of my little ER stay that day, I was like, I don't give a fuck what y'all do. Give me drugs right now and put me under and fix it. I don't care what the risks are. They gave me morphine, and it might as well have been placebo water. It did not do shit. I got that like chest rush that people talk about, but my nut was still down there just singing like, oh, fucking the hallelujah choir in my nutsack. It was screaming, dude. And morphine did not shut it up. Towards the end, like I said, I was getting excited for the surgery. I was like, let's fucking go, boys. As soon as they hook me up to a machine, I'm going under, and either I'm dying or they're going to fix my nut. Either way, this stops. This nut pain stops. Either way, it doesn't matter what happens once I'm under. The anesthesiologist was asking me all these questions, like, I know some people get kind of nervous around this type of thing. Do you have any questions? And I'm like, yeah, I have one. Why are you still talking to me and not jabbing shit in my arm? Let's go. Let's get this shit, baby. You drug me up. Drug me up. Drug me up. Drug me up. I was ready to get that shit rolling as soon as possible. I don't know if y'all can still hear it, but I am on opiates. I think I even said that earlier in the podcast. Hey, welcome to the Squeak Easy Mousecast podcast, where I do opiates alone in my basement after I get my balls cut into and talk shit about women. Stick around. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Blue Chew. If I'd been taking Blue Chew, my dick would have been so hard that it would have fucking knocked my ball back into place. Like, hey, you quit acting up. It would have been like if my dick and ball was at a Walmart and my ball started acting up, my dick would have grabbed my ball's ear and been like, I'm gonna fucking beat your ass as soon as we get into the fucking parking lot if you don't shut the fuck up. You are not getting any Pokemon cards, you fat fuck. So I had the surgery. I don't think I had any more stories from that part. Got the surgery. I'm a little chatty. I'm a little weird. I get a little excited when I come out of anesthesia. Anesthesia, actually, unless it's fentanyl, I've been in a surgery where they gave me a little like microgram of fentanyl or whatever the fuck, and I was out for like 3 days. I was I don't remember getting home. I don't remember the next couple days after that. Fentanyl fucked my ass up. But normally with not fentanyl anesthetics, I get amped up. I'll start waking up and being like, yeah, what are we doing after this, bro? We hitting the clubs tonight? What's going on? Like that type of thing. So, by the way, it's like 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. at the hospital at that point. Everybody who just cut into my nutsack and is trying to get me checked out of the hospital, they all woke up to be there, right? So now they had to get out of bed, leave their families, go cut my nuts open, and then deal with me coming out of anesthesia where I was like, it's party time, bro. I'm a comedian. I'm sitting here trying every joke I can make to this one lady trying to check me out. She checked me out of the hospital. She was telling me all this stuff that I shouldn't be doing. Like, hey, don't lift anything over 20 pounds. You can't go back to work in a week. And I was like, when can I think I said something like, okay, well, a week off of work, when can I start like drinking alcohol? Like 10, 20 minutes from now. I had no intentions of drinking alcohol. And that's the first time I can ever truly say that I did not want alcohol. That's the first time in my life I've ever been joking about drinking alcohol, because every other time I joke about drinking alcohol and then somebody else isn't joking about drinking alcohol, then I start drinking fucking alcohol. This was the first. I did not want alcohol at all. I just came out of surgery. My nuts hurt. I was trying to make her laugh. She looked at me with the most stone cold nothing face I've ever, not even a smirk. She didn't even go like that. No hard exhale. She didn't laugh. She didn't smile. Nothing. I will remember her face for the rest of my life. That might be the most embarrassed I've been in my entire adult life, for real. Like, actually, I was actively embarrassed afterwards, like after the fact. I was home and still thinking, I was like, man, that surgery went really well. Thank God nothing happened. There were no complications. But man, I wish I could take that back for that poor girl. That joke back. Because like I said, she wasn't at the hospital. She had to get out of her house and then come deal with me being a fucking retard coming out of anesthetics. I'm still embarrassed. That's just gonna have to be one of those memories that I completely block out and forget about. Only time heals jokes that are that bad. I stayed up till I got home at like 1 o'clock that night in the morning. I stayed up till 6 because, like I said, anesthesia amps me up. There was no way I was going to sleep. Unfortunately, that has ruined my diet. Jesus Christ. Absolutely murder. Well, I've been a good boy for the past 2 or 3 weeks. I've lost 10 pounds. Today was my cheat day. I went off the rails. Not sleeping will get you. My nuts hurt. That'll knock you off your diet. I was going to talk about cooking. That's where this conversation was going, because I've been trying to cook my own foods before I turned 30. You know what I'm saying? But I think I'm going to save that for the next episode. Stay tuned. Stay tuned for my cooking stories. I burnt the shit. Oh, man, I be burning shit. Let me tell you, it was one of those, like, every window, every door, every fan is wide open. Going full blast. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the first Mousecast or Squeak Easy podcast, whatever the fuck I'm going to call this. I'd like to thank our sponsor, my job that I go to. I would like to thank our sponsor, my bank account. Yeah, episode 1 in the bag. How do I end a podcast? Do I just do something like